Thank you for watching the video. This is YouTube Medical University. Does anyone here have these concerns? When you wake up in the morning, do you ever feel sluggish? Or maybe you tried dieting, but you quickly gained the weight back. Despite having a normal weight, you appear overweight. You have poor circulation, swollen feet, and persistent fatigue even with good sleep. If even one of these made you think, it might be a sign of protein deficiency, which is common among people today. Many of you might think, but I eat properly every day. However, the average daily protein intake in Japan has actually been decreasing in recent years, and it's said to be at the same level as it was in the 1950s. Especially among young people, more and more have a strong desire to lose weight, skip breakfast, or only have salad for lunch. The economic downturn might also be affecting things. In fact, Japanese people may unknowingly be causing a deficiency in this important nutrient. As I just mentioned, that important nutrient is protein. I actually talk with registered dietitians and listen to patients as part of a medical team, and when I ask patients who are struggling with persistent fatigue about their diet in detail, it's often the case that they're overwhelmingly lacking in protein. Just by reviewing their eating habits and making sure to get enough protein, many people say their fatigue has eased and they're able to wake up feeling refreshed in the morning. Some patients even tell me that their skin has become firmer. If you watch this video until the end, I think you'll realize that you need to get more protein, and I'm confident that just by changing your eating habits now, you can greatly reduce your future health concerns and make the best investment for your future. I'll also be sharing specific tips on what you should eat, so please make sure to watch until the end. So here is today's agenda. First, in the first section, we'll talk about why is protein important? I'll explain simply from a medical view. It's not just for muscles. And then in the second section, I'll introduce 7 SOS signs your body shows when you're lacking protein. And in the third section, we'll talk about how to wisely charge up. So I'll introduce efficient ways to get enough protein. And finally, in the fourth section, since I'm often busy myself and don't get enough protein, I drink protein supplements. I'll also explain which protein supplements I recommend and how to choose them. So please listen until the end. I'll share little known information as a practicing doctor in simple terms. First, I'll briefly explain what protein is. If you want to hear the SOS signs immediately, skip to the second section. If you exclude the water in our bodies, amazingly, protein makes up half of what's left. For someone who weighs 60 kilograms, about 10 kilograms of that is made up of protein. So protein is like the main building material that makes up our bodies. Muscles are a clear example, but it's more than that. Hair, skin, nails, internal organs, hemoglobin, and blood vessel walls all contain protein. In fact, there are up to 100,000 types. There are about 100,000 different structures working in the body, all of which contain protein. As I'll talk about in the next period, if you don't get enough protein, all kinds of problems can occur in your body. That being said, the most important thing is that protein is crucial for maintaining muscle strength. Human muscle mass generally peaks in the late 20s to early 30s, and after that, muscle mass gradually decreases year by year, but by the time you reach your 60s, the rate of muscle loss speeds up even more, and it's said that you lose about 1 to 2% of your muscle mass each year. In fact, if you have 100 units of muscle mass at age 60, by the time you reach your 80s, you might only have 60 left. That's about half. Some of you might be thinking, well, doctor, you keep talking about muscle, but I don't really need that much muscle, and it's not like I'm lifting heavy things. But that's a big mistake. When your muscle mass decreases, you become more likely to gain weight. Your body gets heavier, your activity level drops even more, and you become even more prone to gaining weight. Muscles are important because just having them increases your basal metabolism and helps you burn energy. When you lose muscle, your basal metabolism drops and you gain weight more easily. Once that happens, it's a vicious cycle that's very hard to break out of, especially in Japan where many people do desk work. It's said that those who don't use their muscles regularly are more likely to lose muscle strength, and sitting too much is It's said that muscle loss is as serious as smoking, and it's even compared to tobacco use. But don't worry, by getting the right amount of protein and exercising, it's possible to make changes to your body at any age. Let me tell you about Mr. A man in his 60s I examined. He said, "I've been feeling sluggish lately and even walking is a struggle." When I asked about his diet, he said he mostly ate noodles and bread, and as expected, he was lacking in protein. So I told him, "You don't eat much meat or fish. Why don't you try to be a bit more conscious about including them in your diet?" I also had a registered dietitian give him some advice. 3 months later, Mr. A happily reported, "Doctor, lately my sluggishness is gone, and now I can go for walks that I used to avoid. Even climbing stairs doesn't feel like a chore anymore." As you can see, protein is not just for building muscle and strength, it also affects our activity levels, basal metabolism, and in other words, our daily lives themselves. It's truly an essential nutrient. You could even say it's the foundation of the body. I believe that being mindful of protein is the key to staying youthful and healthy. So, in the second part, I'll introduce the dangerous SOS signals your body sends out when you're lacking protein. These SOS signals, if you don't notice these warning symptoms, your muscle strength will decrease rapidly, but your body weight will increase, so your apparent weight might not change. However, your metabolism will keep dropping, making you more likely to fall and making it harder to lose weight. And actually, recently, your hair and skin, could it be? Some people have symptoms from protein deficiency that are hard to recognize. Please listen until the end, when I'll explain how to check your muscle strength. I'll also introduce some simple methods. 7 warning signs of protein deficiency you definitely don't want to miss. The first sign is an increase in blood sugar levels. Some of you might have been told by your doctor at the hospital that your blood sugar has been high lately, and even though you're trying to avoid sweets, you wonder why it's happening. The cause might actually be a lack of protein. Our muscles temporarily store the carbohydrates we eat as something called glycogen. In a way, they work like a dam for our blood sugar. When your muscle strength declines and this dam breaks down, there's nowhere left to store the sugar, so it flows into your bloodstream and your blood sugar levels start to rise. If the amount of sugar in your blood increases rapidly, your body tries to store it by converting it into fat, which leads to subcutaneous fat and belly fat accumulating. In a study conducted in Korea with 7,000 participants, the group with the lowest amount of skeletal muscle mass had, on average, compared to the group with the highest amount. After 9 years, the group with the least muscle mass was shown to have double the risk of developing diabetes. So, if your blood sugar levels have been high lately, it could be a sign your protein intake is down and muscle mass is decreasing. If so, check your dietary protein. Here are 7 dangerous signs of protein deficiency you shouldn't ignore. The second is, you can't open a jar lid. Sometimes it's really hard to open a tight jar lid, right? But think back, wasn't it much easier to open them when you were younger? Opening plastic bottle caps has gotten harder lately. Crossing the crosswalk feels tight and I'm starting to get out of breath. I wonder if it's just inevitable aging of the body. Among these changes, there's something called sarcopenia. It might sound unfamiliar, but it's simple. It refers to a state where your muscle mass is decreasing. According to Japan's National Center for Geriatrics and Gerontology, about 22% of men and 20% of women between the ages of 75 and 79 have sarcopenia. In other words, by your late 70s, 1 in 5 people has sarcopenia, which is quite a lot. It's a dangerous condition where your muscle mass is dropping. Previously, someone visited my outpatient clinic. This is about Ms. B, a woman in her 70s. She told me that even holding a 1-liter milk carton felt heavy, and lately, even going for a walk had become a hassle. So I advised her to have protein with every meal and to do squats. Then, she said, "Doctor, recently, she told me that her body had started to feel lighter and she was now able to walk to the park again." Ms. B showed me just how important nutrition and exercise are before giving up and blaming things on age. Please pay attention to even small changes in your body that you might be tempted to attribute to aging. Please keep this in mind. Here are 7 warning signs of protein deficiency that you definitely don't want to miss. The third one is fatigue and shortness of breath. If you find it hard to get up in the morning or get out of breath easily when climbing stairs, many people who are well informed might think of anemia. The most common cause of anemia is said to be iron deficiency. However, these symptoms might not be caused by iron deficiency alone. Actually, hemoglobin, which is responsible for carrying oxygen in the blood and gives blood its red color, is made from protein. In other words, even if you have enough iron, if you don't have enough protein, the raw material, your body can't produce hemoglobin, which can lead to anemia. When that happens, your whole body can become oxygen deprived, causing you to feel short of breath with even slight exertion, or to feel dizzy and unsteady even during everyday activities. There is a study that focused on young Japanese women, those who had a diet low in protein. The low protein diet group had lower hemoglobin and were more anemic than the non-low protein group. The results showed that the probability was about 2.4 times higher, especially for women who menstruate. Protein is lost from the body as blood during menstruation, making them more prone to protein deficiency. So even if you are taking iron, anemia may not improve easily. In such cases, it's important to review your protein intake. Here are 7 warning signs of protein deficiency that you definitely don't want to miss. The 4th one is skin aging. It helps maintain skin firmness. Substances like collagen and elastin, which support elasticity and are commonly known as beauty components for the skin, are also made from protein. If the protein that serves as the material for collagen and elastin suddenly decreases, it can disrupt the skin's turnover process, since the skin is constantly renewing itself, and this is believed to cause wrinkles and sagging to progress. No matter how much costly lotions or creams you use, if you don't have enough of the necessary materials inside your body, it won't mean anything. I believe that real skincare starts in the kitchen. If you notice changes in your skin, it's important to review your diet. However, there's one thing to be careful about. Thinking that you should eat collagen just because you're lacking collagen is a bit of a misconception. Collagen is broken down by digestive enzymes into amino acids, the building blocks of protein, so simply taking collagen isn't necessarily effective. Be mindful of this and remember there are different types like animal-based and plant-based proteins. Focus on balanced protein intake. Here are 7 warning signs of protein deficiency you shouldn't ignore. The 5th is thinning hair or hair loss, a well-known sign since hair is made of protein. Lately, I've been losing more hair, you know? My hair seems thinner and my nails are brittle and break easily. These symptoms could be related. It could be related to protein. When you don't get enough protein, your body uses it for important parts like your organs and blood. So, for things like your hair and nails, the parts that, to put it simply, you can still live even if they're a bit lacking in protein, these areas tend to show signs first. In your body, they're given lower priority. Ms. C, a woman in her 30s who was very busy with childcare and work, said she was troubled by a lot of hair loss when she shampooed. She ate a palm-sized serving of meat, fish, or eggs at each meal. After she started eating more foods rich in protein, her hairdresser recently complimented her, saying her hair had become stronger. It's possible that protein improved the quality of Ms. C's hair. Protein is something you definitely don't want to overlook. Here is the 6th warning sign of protein deficiency: decreased immunity. Recently, somehow, whenever I catch a cold, it lingers and doesn't go away. I always get sick when the seasons change. Does anyone else experience this? This could possibly mean that your body's defense system is weakened due to a lack of protein. Our bodies use a function called immunity to fight against viruses and bacteria, also known as germs. Among these immune functions, something called antibodies, which work specifically against certain germs, are especially important. When antibodies attach to pathogens, they act as markers, allowing the body to eliminate these pathogens. In fact, antibodies themselves are made from protein. Because of this, it's believed that a lack of protein can lead to a decline in immune function. In other words, protein affects not only muscles, hair, and nails, but also protects your body internally. Protein serves this role. Here are 7 warning signs of protein deficiency you shouldn't miss. The 7th is mental health issues, which may surprise many. Lately, I just can't seem to get motivated. I can't stay focused, and I get irritated for no reason. Things like that. These symptoms might also be related to protein. Neurotransmitters and hormones in the brain, like dopamine and serotonin, which are necessary for mental stability, are also made from amino acids that come from broken down protein. There's a large-scale study from the United States that shows this. The group with the highest protein intake experienced less depression, meaning they felt less down, compared to the group with the lowest protein intake. The chance of having symptoms was 66% lower. It's quite surprising that simply consuming more protein may lower the chances of feeling down. What do you think? I believe there were many unexpected signs that can occur in the body when you're lacking protein. First, your blood sugar rises. Second, muscle mass decreases due to sarcopenia. Third, you may feel tired or short of breath. Fourth, skin aging such as wrinkles and sagging. Fifth, problems with your hair or nails. Sixth, a weakened immune system. And finally, seventh, mental health issues. Many of you might be thinking, maybe I'm not getting enough protein. If that's the case, I really recommend checking your own muscle mass. There's a simple way to check, so please try it while watching this video. It's called the finger ring test. Everyone, please make a ring with your thumb and index finger like this. Then, using the leg that is not your dominant leg, if you use your right leg more, use your left leg. Try to wrap the ring around the thickest part of your left calf. If your fingers just meet, your muscle mass is appropriate. If your calf is thicker and the ring doesn't close, your muscle mass is well maintained. But if your fingers overlap, it may indicate a decrease in muscle strength. Just because your fingers overlap doesn't mean you need to rush to the hospital, but it's good to check your current muscle mass. And after changing your lifestyle habits, try the test again to see if the size of your calf has changed. Use this to check your muscle mass and motivate exercise. There is also the 5 times. There is also something called the chair stand test. For this, use a stable chair. Sit near the edge of the chair, cross your arms in front of your chest and try to sit down and stand up 5 times as quickly as possible. If it takes you more than 12 seconds to complete these 5 repetitions, there is a high possibility that your muscle mass has decreased. This is something you can try right away, so please give it a try. However, if you are injured or have any kind of illness, please be careful not to overdo it. Please share your results in the comments section. I think it will be helpful for other viewers. In this way, at YouTube Medical University, as a practicing physician, I share key information simply to help you live a healthier, more vibrant second half of life. I'd appreciate your subscription so you don't miss new videos. Now, as promised in the third period, let's discuss protein intake, recommended foods, and 4 specific steps to build a lean, fatigue-resistant body. Focusing on these 4 tips will start transforming your body, so please listen closely. The first of the 4 habits to build a lean, fatigue-resistant body is adding eggs and soy products to your breakfast. First of all, the most important meal of the day is breakfast. If you don't dislike them, please try adding them to your usual breakfast. Boiled eggs, fried eggs, omelets, and soy products such as natto, tofu, or miso. Try adding these 2 items. If you can do this, I think it's perfect. Why eggs and soy products? There's a reason for this. Meat and eggs are animal-based proteins, while soybeans are plant-based proteins. It's believed that consuming animal and plant proteins in a 1-to-1 ratio is the most efficient way for your body to absorb them. Since mornings are busy, I think it's hard to cook meat, so for animal protein, use eggs. For plant protein, you can easily get it from natto or small single-serving tofu. Just eat it as is or add it to miso soup. It's important to get these efficiently. If you get enough protein at breakfast, you can be a bit more flexible with lunch and dinner. If you get protein, you can balance your protein intake over 3 meals a day, and it's easier to reach the amount of protein you need in a day. It's actually pretty hard to get the necessary amount of protein in a day. If eating both eggs and soybeans is difficult, try having eggs on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and soy products on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Choosing by day and sticking to it can help, so give it a try. Try to learn different ways to eat so you don't get bored with your meals. If you have any recommended recipes, please share them in the comments section. The second of the 4 habits to build a lean and energetic body is to have smart snacks. Are there any of you who crave sweets in the evening? One possible reason for this is blood sugar fluctuations caused by a lack of protein. For example, if you overeat at lunch and consume too many carbs or fats, your blood sugar will spike rapidly. This surprises your body and your pancreas starts releasing a large amount of insulin, the hormone that lowers blood sugar. As a result, your blood sugar drops sharply, which makes you hungry again. creating a vicious cycle. Protein, however, raises blood sugar more gradually, causing slower insulin release and a gentler, natural drop in blood sugar. People lacking protein often struggle to control their appetite and are more prone to binge or impulsive eating. There are even research results that support this. Sometimes you just can't help but reach for snacks, right? Instead of relying on a doctor's help, I think it's important to wisely supplement your protein intake so you can cancel out the urge to eat sweets in the first place. And when you do get a little hungry, for that reason, try to choose protein instead of greasy or sweet foods. For example, protein-rich foods. For example, you can choose Greek yogurt, have some cheese or boiled eggs, or go for fish sausage with no additives and low salt. You could also try dried foods like dried squid or a taurine, but be careful with the salt content. Just by doing these things, I think you can prevent yourself from overeating. Please try to be mindful of this. The third of the 4 habits for building a lean and fatigue-resistant body is adding a little extra protein. On busy days, you might end up eating at a convenience store or dining out, right? I think that's unavoidable, but even when you go to a convenience store or eat out, just being a little more conscious of your protein intake can make a big difference in how your body feels the next day. For example, at a convenience store, you can add salad chicken or boiled eggs to your salad. Eat them together. When eating out, choose grilled fish at set meal restaurants or opt for high white meat protein like chicken with Western food. Always be mindful of your protein intake. Even at convenience stores or when dining out, you can still manage your choices. Going to a convenience store or eating out doesn't mean you've failed. If you start denying yourself like this, it's easy to lose motivation and give up on all the effort you've been putting in. When this happens, it's easy for your diet or exercise habits to fall apart. So even in those situations, I think it's good to learn in advance what kinds of things you should choose to take care of your body. Also, it's said that consuming protein itself actually uses up energy. Interestingly, just by eating protein, the amount you take in, about 30% of the energy from protein is used just to digest it. In other words, simply adding a bit more protein can help increase your muscle mass, boost your metabolism, and move you closer to having a body that burns fat easily and loses weight more effectively. The 4th habit for building a lean, fatigue-resistant body is this: do a little exercise. Just like there are gyms such as ChocoZap that you can go to for a quick workout, it's important to find even a little time to exercise. It's important to naturally incorporate exercise into your daily life and make it a part of your routine. Going to the gym isn't the only way to get exercise, right? Taking the stairs instead of the escalator is a good aerobic exercise. Even a 10-minute walk after a meal counts as exercise. Doing these activities with your meals or adding exercise to your daily routines like during your commute is what I recommend. For example, stand on tiptoes while cutting vegetables or do squats while brushing your teeth. Even during busy times, try to fit in a little exercise. And remember, doing a little bit of exercise consistently is powerful. First, try your best to keep it up for just 3 days. These 3 days are important. Have you ever heard of the rule of 3? If you can keep something up for 3 days, the next hurdle is 3 weeks, and after that 3 months. If you can overcome these hurdles, you'll be able to make it a habit. So first, let's do our best for 3 days. Let's do our best for 3 weeks, then 3 months. I think it's important to have the determination to motivate yourself and turn something into a habit like this. Also, there is solid data that says when you try something new, it's easier to keep it up if you declare it to others rather than just deciding on your own. So, if there's something you want to work hard on for 3 days, starting today, declare it in the comments section of this video. I'm sure it will motivate others too, and they'll feel like, alright, I'll do my best as well. So, in this 3rd lesson, I introduced 4 lifestyle habits to build a lean, fatigue-resistant body. First, eat eggs and soybeans in the morning. Second, wisely eat protein as a snack. Third, add a little extra protein even when eating at convenience stores or eating out. And fourth, try to incorporate a bit of exercise into your daily routine. These are my recommendations. That being said, it's not always easy. It's difficult to get enough protein in your daily life. I personally find it hard too, so I make sure to take protein supplements every day. The amount of protein you need per day is said to be about 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Of course, it depends on your health and physical state, but generally that's the required amount. For a 70 kilogram person, that's 70 grams To get 60 grams of protein a day, for example, if you use natto packs, that would be about 8 packs a day. If we're talking about eggs, that's about 10 eggs a day. For milk, you'd need to drink about 2 liters a day. So, if you don't eat 3 proper meals a day, it's pretty difficult. You won't reach 60 grams. And even though I eat healthily, I still don't get 60 grams with 3 regular meals. After calculating, I realized I'm usually not getting enough. I supplement my protein intake with protein powder from the perspective of various nutrients. I think it's better to get them from real food, but it's difficult to get enough that way, so I use protein powder to make up for the lack. Some people might think that protein powder is only for special people, but that's really not the case anymore. As I mentioned in the second part of this video, a lack of protein can lead to various health problems. Nowadays, protein powder is very easy to drink, dissolves well, and has become relatively affordable. The days when only hardcore gymgoers drank protein powder are over. Even among my outpatients, there are women in their 70s who say they take protein, so I think it's definitely something you should consider actively. So, with company support, I'll be testing various protein powders. After trying different flavors, I found some tasty and easy to drink, so I confidently recommend them. I'll introduce 2 protein powder types. When choosing protein, I focus on a few things. The key point is the protein content. Since the purpose is to supplement protein, this is of course important. The second point is that the ingredients are simple, meaning there are no unnecessary additives or extra things added. Third, above all, it has to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, you can't keep drinking it. So I also place importance on flavor. While meeting these criteria, since I buy it with my own money, I think it's important to be able to relate to the company. I also look at things like the brand's quality control and whether the company is environmentally conscious. So, the protein I especially want to recommend this time, because it tastes great, is from a brand called NatureCan. I feel that this manufacturer, NatureCan, puts a lot of effort into quality control of their products. For example, if there are high amounts of 4 heavy metals, arsenic, mercury, cadmium and so on, these components can affect the human body. They publish their test results regarding ingredients, and as a brand, they also have inspection systems in place by third-party organizations. I feel that they put a lot of effort into quality control. Another trait is their strong awareness of the environment and social responsibility. They are working on carbon dioxide, 2 emission reduction projects. Some of their products use cacao cultivated through agroforestry, and they also plant a tree for every order as part of their initiatives. Since taste is important when it comes to NatureCan's protein, I'd like to introduce 2 flavors that I can recommend based on taste. The first one is whey protein concentrate dark chocolate flavor. This one contains 640 grams, which is about 20 servings and is priced at 4,500 yen. Each serving contains about 22 grams of protein, so if you drink 3 servings of this protein, you'll easily get 66 grams a day. I think it's safe to say that it can cover your daily protein needs. I think a lot of people have the impression that protein powder tastes bad, but these days protein powders have become really sweet. While many of them are tasty, a lot of them are overly sweet. However, this protein stands apart from those overly sweet ones. It really has the rich aroma of cacao that's unique to chocolate, and you can smell it as soon as you open it. There's a nice moderate bitterness to it, so when I first tried it, it didn't feel like protein powder at all. It felt more like a high quality, it tasted just like a drink produced by a high-end chocolatier. The aftertaste isn't overly sweet and is actually quite refreshing, so I feel like I could drink this over and over without any problem. If I had to sum it up in one phrase, I'd say this is a protein powder for adults. Another great thing about this dark chocolate flavor is that it doesn't use any flavoring or artificial sweeteners at all, which is pretty rare. Most protein powders use artificial sweeteners, so if you want to avoid additives or don't like overly sweet options, I highly recommend the dark chocolate flavor. The second I recommend is the whey protein concentrate gummy banana flavor, which comes in a 600 gram pack, about 20 servings for the same price, 4,500 yen. Each serving has about 22 grams of protein, just like the dark chocolate. The main highlight of Kami Banana is its great taste, just like the first one. Curious about why it tastes so good, I checked the website. It turns out they use domestically grown organic bananas and turn them into powder. I think this really shows their commitment to quality ingredients. When you hear banana flavor, most people probably imagine a taste that's just banana flavoring with a bunch of sugar added, but this is completely different. It tastes like a refined banana juice. It's rich and creamy, but not overly sweet. In fact, it even feels a bit refreshing. Because of that, it tastes like fresh banana juice, even though it's juice. It's honestly delicious just as juice, so I really want you to give it a try. Even if you're not a fan of that typical overly sweet banana flavor, I think you might enjoy this one. This Kami banana flavor uses artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose, but thanks to that, it keeps the carbs and calories low while letting you efficiently get your protein. The dark chocolate flavor I mentioned earlier has 124 kilocalories per serving, but this Kami banana flavor has only 116 kilocalories per serving. If you don't mind artificial sweeteners and want to keep your calorie intake from protein as low as possible, I think this is a great option. Which of these two flavors would you choose? Honestly, it's a tough decision. Both flavors offer equal protein per serving. For an original bitter taste without artificial sweeteners, choose dark chocolate. For fewer calories and a rich dessert-like flavor,
if you want to drink something like banana juice, I think the Kami banana flavor is the way to go. Personally, I enjoy rotating between the flavors depending on my mood that day. Of course, there are many protein options on the market, so I hope you'll check them out yourself and choose the one that suits you best. Both of these are really delicious, and compared to other proteins, they dissolve very easily and don't get clumpy.
They've kindly listened to my request for everyone to try both flavors, and as a special collaboration with YouTube Medical University, they're offering a special protein set with 1 bag each of dark chocolate and Kami banana. Normally, this set would cost 9,000 yen, but they're generously offering it for just 7,000 yen. I think it's a great deal for anyone who wants to try both flavors. If you buy 2 bags of each, you'll get an even bigger discount. For more details, please check the description or the comments section. You can save up to over 8,000 yen, so it's a really generous discount. And that's not all. They've also given a special discount code just for viewers of this video. Furthermore, it should be easier for you to purchase, so please check the description or comments section for more details. I once had a patient who used to visit my clinic and struggled with frequent mouth ulcers. After several consultations, we decided that increasing protein intake would help, and they started using protein supplements. As they continued this lifestyle, they gradually stopped getting mouth ulcers as often. Of course, this is just one person's experience, but as I mentioned in the second part, protein really affects every part of the body. It's quite common for unexplained physical issues to actually be caused by a lack of protein. That said, getting enough protein can be difficult, so I encourage you to consider supplementing with protein powder. How was today's topic? This time, I talked from a practicing doctor's perspective about how protein supports not just your muscles but your overall health, and how a lack of protein might be the cause of some of your physical problems. When you're deficient in protein, you may notice certain symptoms. 7 warning signs on how to efficiently get enough protein. I shared 4 lifestyle habits. If you forget them, replay this or take notes. Use the comments to jot down thoughts or share what you learned, even just a word. It can help you remember. Lastly, I'll mention my preferred protein supplement. I also introduced my recommended protein, so if you feel like you're not getting enough protein in your diet, please make use of it. In this way, at YouTube Medical University, we offer simple doctor-led videos to help you get healthier starting tomorrow. I want to help make tomorrow healthier and more hopeful, so please subscribe and like the channel to support me. Let's meet again in the next video. In How Not to Age After Your 70s, lessons I learned from my patients as a general practitioner. I share stories and life lessons from my patients. Some I hope to follow myself and others I never knew about. I learned from my seniors that chatting with friends matters more than exercise, and with medicine, less is often better. These lessons taught me how to live healthily and happily at any age. It's full of valuable wisdom, so please check it out from the description below.